We're about to talk some boxing. What you need. Should have gotten my hat, but we'll rep Trinidad and Tobago very soon. Let's talk some boxing. So, as you guys already know, Teofimo Lopez, he got beaten by George Kambosos last night. I'm sure a lot of people in all of YouTube is blown up. At least the fight community is blown up over this upset. Split decision victory for George Kambosos. Now, I put up a poll, and 70% of you guys thought that Teofimo Lopez would knock out George Kambosos. And only 10% of you actually believed that George Kambosos would win this fight by decision. And he did win. Let's make it abundantly clear. Watching the fight, he did win. Now, there were a couple of things that I bore in mind. I told people on YouTube, not YouTube, on Facebook. I said to them when they said, well, what's your pick for the fight? I said, there are a couple of things that I bear in mind. One, this fight was put off many, many times. And I found that to be interesting, that the fight kept on being delayed. The second thing that got my interest was certain words by Boot Ennis's dad, Jerome Ennis's dad, when he said that, people think that Kambosos is just a guy that Teo is just going to get out of there. He said, this is a quality fighter. He knows Kambosos, and he knows Kambosos is hungry, and he has the will to win. And I was watching recently, I believe it was Jerry Quarry versus Ernie Schaefer's. And Jerry Quarry, for those of you who don't know, was a fighter in the 70s, in the 60s, and the 70s, and along the same era as Muhammad Ali and George Foreman and Joe Frazier and Ken Norton and all these guys, right? And on this occasion, the fight with Ernie Schaefer's was put off several different times. Okay? When Quarry got in there to face Ernie Schaefer's, Jerry Quarry got him out of there in the first round. His manager, who you guys know as Gil Clancy, the great Gil Clancy, got up there and he said, they asked, why did Jerry Quarry get rid of Joe Frazier? Get rid of Ernie Schaefer so quickly? And he said to him, this man been waiting for his chance for so long, was so frustrated. He probably took out his frustrations in the ring. And Jerry Quarry, was a quality boxer. He was known as a boxer. Now, you got to understand what was at stake. At stake here was the unified WBA, WBO, IBF championships. Shout out to Wang Cho, another great upset for the year. Yes, sir. All of these things were at stake. That's the first thing. And the so-called somewhat undisputed title. The other thing that was at stake was that whoever won this title was the king of the division. The king of the division would be that person. So Kambosos was extremely hungry to start with because the stakes were so high. And then second of all, he was really hungry because Teofimo Lopez, time and time again, put off the fight. For whatever reason, the fight kept on being put off. So Kambosos had a lot of time to train. He had a lot of time to, and not overtrain, but train. He stayed focused and he stayed hungry. Now, I hadn't looked into Kambosos a whole lot. But his last 3 fights he's had, he's won by split decision. showing that he's the hungrier fighter. This fight, which was Teofimo Lopez fight, split decision. Previous fight against Lee Selby was a split decision. And the fight before that against Mickey Bay was a split decision. People in the boxing community know him. So Boots Ennis' dad said, a hungry fighter like that, who has the skills and abilities, is a dangerous fighter. That is a dangerous fight. Which would explain why Teofimo Lopez was not exceedingly eager to face this guy. And up to, I believe it was yesterday, was making excuses, saying that he wasn't coming in 100%. Because George Kambosos is not a hitter-quitter like Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez, as you can see, is very powerful, very strong, and a very heavy puncher. But what George Kambosos can do is he can box his ass off and he can fight his ass off. That was what we saw. And his intensity and the way how he fights and he boxes, and the smart way how he fights and boxes, was shown against Teofimo Lopez. More than against Lee Selby. Lee Selby was actually tagging him a lot more, but he can also take a shot. He has a, he's sturdy. And in this fight, it was an incredible fight. It was an incredible fight. And it began in the first round, almost like Jerry Quarry versus Ernie Schaefer's, except that was more of a flash knockdown, where Teofimo Lopez learned very early he couldn't bully this kid, and in trades, he actually could get caught. And what did Teofimo Lopez get caught with? The overhand right. Why does Teofimo Lopez continuously get caught with the overhand right? Because he does not use the high guard. He should have learned this lesson since the Nakatani fight, which, by the way, George Kambosos brought up in the press conferences before the fight. In fact, the day before the weigh-ins, that's the thing he threw at Teofimo Lopez. He also threw at Teofimo Lopez something else that people inside the business of boxing knew, which is that the great, I believe he was super featherweight fighter, I forgot what his name is, Joe something, left the camp with Teofimo Lopez. That was Teofimo Lopez's secret weapon. I forgot what his name is. A tour guide, he put him, ended his career pretty much, knocking him out. I forgot what his name is. Joe something. I can't remember. But I was listening to all these things, very entertaining, but it was interesting that Kambosos kept on bringing up facts. And Kambosos kept on, because it seems as though Kambosos' camp was doing their homework, their due diligence on Teofimo Lopez's camp. Okay? They knew everything that was going on with Teofimo Lopez. Like I said, smart fighters. I'm going to talk to you guys more about smart fighters another time. But trust me, they had their scouts doing their homework on Lopez's camp, and they knew due diligence about his camp, even though they were focused on, of course, what they're doing, what they had to do for the fight. But what I wanted to say was, Lopez didn't do his due diligence on how to deal with the overhand right from the Nakatani fight. Okay? He did make an adjustment at times in the fight when he was aware that the overhand right was coming from Kambosos. He did make an adjustment. And he started dipping under the punch. But too little, too late. And then he went back once Kambosos, stuck with his jab, because Kambosos was doing a lot of beautiful things with the jab, right? So he was doubling up the jab. He was also hooking off the jab. He would throw double left hooks, So what he's doing is, when Teofimo Lopez tries to dip to his right to get away from the overhand right, he would catch him with left hooks, right? He would jab and then catch him with left hooks. When Teofimo Lopez started to jab, and Teofimo was trying to work on the body, so he would jab to the body. He was working on Kambosos' body, but Kambosos, because he's boxing mostly on the outside, most of his fight was on the outside and mid-range. Teofimo Lopez had to close the distance to get to him. And Kambosos did a really, really superb job of using his jab and working off his jab, but not the traditional kind of jab. What I mean by that is Kambosos, just like Caleb Plant, which is why I thought Caleb Plant would beat Canelo Alvarez, was kept his jabbing hand low, okay, right here, and then he would shoot the jab upwards from here, okay? So instead of, most people have their hands high with the jab, okay, or they have their hands out like this, and then they pop their jab, right? But Kambosos had his hands low like this. He's staying behind his shell defense and popping the jab. So in the first round, when Teofimo Lopez came out, you know, to do his thing, in the very first exchange, Kambosos countered over Teofimo Lopez's jab. He countered the jab with a lot of power, and he threw an overhand right. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a couple things about the shell defense. Okay, it's not impregnable, but if you know how to use it appropriately, then it is very effective. And you can almost be, it's almost impregnable, but you have to respect distance. I'm going to say it again. You have to respect distance when using the shell. You need to know what range you're supposed to be in for the shell to be effective. And let me explain what I mean. So I'm going to take the guy who everybody says mastered the shell defense, and they call it the Mayweather defense, Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, when using the shell, misjudged distance against Shane Mosley. And what happened? Boom, he got cracked with the overhand right. Because Shane Mosley went to the body with the left hook that distracted Floyd. It froze him up, and then he came over the top. I'm going to talk about another boxer, James Toney. Now, James Toney was using the shell against Roy Jones Jr. I'm going to tell you about another punch that you're open to with the shell. So, as much as it may sound interesting, this may sound very interesting, but a left hook can still get through on somebody who is in the shell, as we saw against Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos, right? And this is how you can get it. If you throw, for example, a jab and then you hook off the jab, as much as the guy's trying to catch the jab and come back here, if you do a double left hook, the guy, he may get his angle off, and you may be also off to another angle. Because if I throw a double left hook, I'm going to pivot twice. So the first hook, I pivot, and then the second hook is another pivot. Okay? The double left hook is one where you're pivoting around a guy as you're throwing the hook, which is what a lot of people don't understand. Like, it's angles in boxing, and if you don't understand that, you're never going to get to understand why guys land certain punches and why guys couldn't defend certain punches. A leaping left hook is where you don't leap directly at the person. You're leaping off an angle at the person. That's why that left hook works. Okay? So there's a lot of things in boxing that if you haven't boxed, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. But if you've boxed, you will understand, you know, as you throw a hook, it's all in the torque, it's all in the front foot. You know, so therefore, to get the hook to happen, you have to pivot. You have to pivot to throw a hook, right? You not only torque your body, but you have to actually pivot your body. Your feet, your back foot will pivot on the ball of your front foot. Okay, you could throw a hook and stay in place as well, but it's better if you pivot as you throw the hook to get even more leverage off your punch. Now, the point I'm making anyway is this: that double left hooks, or feint and then a hook, or a jab and a hook off the jab catches guys in the shell. Okay? So with Roy Jones Jr., he feinted. James Toney snapped back. He was still protecting his chin. I think his hands are actually down, actually. I think he dropped his hands. So that's why he got caught flush. But you could feint a guy, so he braces for the shot. And then when he doesn't think and he's relaxing back, as he's relaxing and he kind of brings his hands back to a neutral position, which is somewhere around here, all right, you can catch him with a left hook. So anyway, that was what was happening with Teofimo Lopez all night long with Kambosos. Kambosos was dictating with the jab. He had a great jab, quick jab. He would double it, triple it to Teofimo Lopez's head, and then he would either come around with a right hook to the body, or he may come around with an overhand right over the top because it induces Lopez to want to throw his jab or to want to lean back to try and let the jab come here and hit the shoulder. Okay. And then he just loop the shot, loop the overhand right, loop the overhand right. He literally loop it this way, right? Head down, looping the shot, right? We saw Marcos Maidana catch Floyd Mayweather with that shot. In the first fight, he looped it over Floyd's shoulder and catch him flush. Adrian Broner, same thing. So that's why I said you have to respect distance with the shell, because certain punches, the shell cannot protect you from. You have to dip, first of all. To respect the distance, you have to dip down. That's the first thing you'll have to do. And the second thing you have to do is use your feet and shuffle back. All right? When you respect distance like that, they can't catch you. And then when they throw the overhand right and their head is dipping in, you can counter them with an uppercut. You see? So that's the key with the whole thing. As I said before, every move has a counter move to it in boxing. But the thing about it is that with Floyd, which was a lot of people don't understand. In fact, Sugar Ray Leonard actually caught Floyd's dad with the overhand right. He threw the overhand right over Floyd's dad's shoulder. As Floyd's dad was, he put up the shoulder here, and his chin was behind the shoulder. But the problem with it was that he could catch him on the top of the head, and he caught him somewhere on the top of the head here and threw his equilibrium off. You know, Triple G throws those sharp overhand right hooks as well, and can catch you on the top of the head and just throw your whole equilibrium off. You don't only have to get hit in the back of the head by the temple area or on the chin, but you can also get hit on the top dome of your head, and it can throw your equilibrium off as well. So there's just a lot of things that people don't know in boxing. I saw Marcos Maidana actually catch Floyd with a similar shot that Sugar Ray Leonard caught Floyd's dad with, but Floyd reacted totally differently. He's a much tougher guy, like Kambosos. He's a very tough guy. Floyd's very, very strong, very, very tough. A lot of people don't realize that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. That so Kambosos countered Teofimo Lopez and caught him flush with the overhand right and put him down. From thenceforth, Teofimo Lopez was very careful because he realized this guy had the power to knock me down. But the thing about it wasn't so much that Kambosos had all that power. I mean, he threw it with everything he had. It's that Teofimo Lopez was not ready for a counter right like that. And so he caught him early and put him down. And then he had to respect Kambosos' power. He had to respect what Kambosos was doing. Now, that's one thing that Caleb Plant was unable to do with Canelo. However, people are saying, Caleb Plant didn't have nothing to make Canelo respect him. He did. He had a jab. Caleb Plant's jab is exceptional. He has an exceptional jab. And what a lot of people don't realize is the jab, when used as a weapon, can actually knock a person out. And we've seen that with two people knocked out people with a jab. We saw Sergey Kovalev knock out the kid from the UK, Lions Only guy. We saw him knock him out. Lions in the Camp guy. Saw him knock him out with a jab. And also we saw Jamal Charlo knock out K9 Budridge with a jab. So a jab is a very effective weapon. It can be even used as a power punch. And in this case, Kambosos' jab was really functioning on all kinds of levels. He was doing all kinds of things off the jab. And one of the things he was doing off the jab that was just exceptional was he would hook off the jab. He would throw triple hooks, double hooks off the jab, and catch Teofimo Lopez with those shots, come back with a right to the body and double right hooks to the body and the head, and some really interesting things I've not seen guys do of late. And even in the firefights, even though Teofimo was a stronger guy, sometimes he overpowered Kambosos. Kambosos, being a tough dude that he was able to also keep his head down, keep chin down, keep your chin tucked, keep your head down, and come back with overhand rights and left hooks and stuff in the trenches. So even if Kambosos got hurt in the trenches, he'd dip his chin in, tuck his chin in, tuck his head in, and throw overhand shots, which is a very smart thing to do when you're dealing with a guy and you don't want to get caught flush up top here with your chin pop out in the air, right? You want to stay down, stay tight, compact, tucked, and work your punches on the inside, okay? Again, I believe the most lethal punches in boxing are actually short chopping shots. They're the ones you don't see. They're the ones that can do the worst damage. They're the ones that can do do the most work on you. Okay. So Kambosos, we had the long shots as well, which Kambosos was doing. And the other thing I loved about what Kambosos was doing in there, if he thought that Teofimo Lopez was about to overpower him or something, he'd just clamp it down. He would tie him up. Right. The only thing, and we'll talk about Stephen Fulton versus Brian Figueroa very soon. Brandon Figueroa, sorry. But I'm gonna get to that one in the next bit, and how Fulton was able to pull away from Figueroa in the championship rounds, the 11th and 12th. We'll talk all about that later. But it's clear to me that one, Kambosos wanted this fight more, and two, I can't go into all details of it because it's like we're already 20 something minutes in. I could go for hours just talking about this one fight. But the other clear thing that was clear to me was that Kambosos was not going to be deterred. He was very, very hungry. His desire was there, and his preparation was behind his desire. There's one thing to have heart and all of that, but if you're not prepared, and he clearly was prepared for this fight, his preparation was crazy. Like, he knew what to do when he got dropped. He knew what to do when the situation was one in which Teofimo Lopez was starting to get in his stride. He took away the momentum from Teofimo Lopez, so he knew what to do in the fight. And one of the things, well, like I said before, you cannot stand in front of somebody with the shell. You're frozen up. And if a guy freezes you in the shell, you're actually vulnerable. You have to constantly be moving while you have this shell. And I'm not going to just refer to Floyd. I'm going to refer to another fighter, Georgie Benton. Check him out when he's using the shoulder roll and how he uses the shell. Benny Briscoe, another guy. Again, they use the shell, but they don't use it all the time. And then even if they do use the shell, they're giving you the shell. And Canelo Alvarez, another one. They give you the shell with different looks. They're not giving you the shell like that. Or if they're giving you the shell, they're giving you the shell while they're moving. Okay? That's very important because it's robust. You have to roll things. If you freeze up with the shell, then you're not doing nothing. So you're gonna get tagged because you're open at certain angles to get tagged. So you have to move the shell with your opponent. So there's all these little things that a lot of people don't understand when we talk about the shell. It's not just use the shell and walk to a guy. No. You have to be dynamic with it. You have to use it as a part of your defense. And a part of your defense will be a series of feints, what we call a system of feints. It's going to be your footwork. Where you put your feet determines what angle you're at. So you have to move your feet. You have to respect distance and range. Understand when the shell is functional, where in space. Meaning, I'm not going to use the shell on you when I know you are within punching range of me in terms of I'm in no man's land. It's kind of what happened with Devin Haney versus the Venezuelan guy. He'll come to me. He got caught in no man's land. He had the shell, but it didn't mean nothing because the guy had the position on him to throw that combination. He was on weak side, and Devin Haney just got tagged up. He was nothing he could do. He could throw his jab. He could throw whatever he wanted to throw. He could even dip down. He was vulnerable for shots. So it's where you put your feet. It'll come to me. Trust me. His name will come to me. Jorge Linares. See, I told you it would come to me. Jorge Linares. He was able to tee off with a 3-4 punch combination, of which 3 punches landed on Devin Haney. Probably would have dropped anybody else. Probably would have knocked out anybody else. But he got caught with them. Okay? Flush. Like he wasn't riding them or nothing. And that's because, again, he was out of position. And when you're out of position, they call it no man's land. When you're out of position like that, it doesn't matter if you're using a shell. You understand? So it's not a shell. The shell is not a magical thing. Okay? You have to be able to be lined up with your opponent. You have to be in certain angles. You have to be able. Shout out to Scrapbook Boxing. What's up, my brother? Shout out to you, brother. Much respect to you. It's not just that. And Teofimo Lopez doesn't seem to understand that. Particularly, he never learned from the Nakatani experience, and he never adjusted his style to that. I mean, in this fight, like I said before, he knew to dip. He knew to dip down. But when you're dipping down, you could dip into a left hook. Okay? We saw with Caleb Plant versus Canelo Alvarez what happened. When Caleb got caught, He leaned back and then he dipped down, which you're supposed to do. But he dipped into a right uppercut, right? Canelo walked him right into an uppercut. So the shell, like I keep on explaining to people, the shell is appropriate. Even the high guard is good, but it's good up to a point. It's good up to a point. You see what I'm saying? All these things depend on where you are in the ring. Let me tell you the most important thing in boxing. I hear people laugh and mock people about people who use footwork and have good footwork in boxing. They call them runners. That's bullshit. This is the most important thing other than your defense in boxing is your feet. Do you remember Andrew Ward saying this? Roger Mayweather used to say, before you even think about throwing a punch, you need to know how to move your feet. Okay? Now, the most important punch in boxing, everybody knows, is a jab, right? But I said there are some exceptional boxers who don't even need to use the jab. They don't have to depend on the jab to win fights. Okay? They're these exceptional people. It's an advanced course and stuff. But for people like myself and other fundamental people, it's the jab. Okay? That's the most important punch in boxing. It ain't the right hand. It ain't the left hooks. It ain't the spectacular two. You know, the nice straight right. Okay? It's not that. It's the jab. Okay? That's important for people to understand. And the most important thing you can learn in boxing besides defense is how to move in the ring. That's what Canelo Alvarez lacks. He's still not perfect at that. That's why he's beatable. Okay? He lacks that. He uses precise footwork, which is excellent. That's excellent. But you got to be able to lap that ring. You must be able to move every corner, every part of that ring. You must be able to move in that ring because that movement is what optimizes your offense and your defense. And if you do not know how to do that, your defense becomes less effective. Okay, because if a guy can get into position faster than you can get into position and he can move into position at a different pace and he can maintain that pacing or he can maintain whatever it is because it's everything. There's a lot of things going on in boxing. One is you got to have a certain pace. You must be able to operate at any pace in boxing because some guy's going to push you. And you must be able to do that under pressure. Meaning if a pressure fighter is coming to you, you must be able to operate at a certain pacing against him. If they pick up the pace, if they pick up the intensity, you must know what to do, how to stay calm, and also how to slow it down or how to make them miss, make them pay. If the pace is too slow or it's a slow pace that's happening in the fight and the guy's outthinking you, you have to be able to work at that pace and be able to solve him. Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter is a perfect example where Terrence Crawford solved Sean. He knew what he had to do, and then he was taking his time and working towards it. Okay? All right, anyway. And remember, knockouts happen. A knockout happens way before it happens. Let me just put it to you that way. The fighter sees what the other guy sees, the punch he can throw to knock out a fighter, and now he's working towards that. Okay? It's not just I'm gonna knock you out. If he sees the opportunity early and he goes for it, he knock out a guy sooner. But sometimes you have to soften them up. You got to get them doing the thing that you see them doing, that they subconsciously do all the time. You got to get them to do it more and more and more. So you want the opportunity to be one where you want to make it look good, right? All right. So anyway, what I'm saying is that Teofimo Lopez, he was trying to work the shell, but he wasn't using his feet. You notice Kambosos, every time Teofimo Lopez take a step forward, Kambosos take a step backward. And you take it back at an angle, right? He's pivoting to his right and circling out. Okay, he's circling out from Teofimo Lopez. And Lopez wasn't figuring that out to try to cut him off. So what he was supposed to do was when Lopez circled out, he was supposed to sidestep him and walk this way, right? But he didn't do that. So anyways, the point is Teofimo Lopez, he's good at fighting going forward, but when it comes to fighting off the back foot and respecting distance and also using a high guard at certain times where it will block an overhand right from coming, even though, like I said before, the shell is kind of susceptible to overhand rights and left hooks, okay? But that only happens if you don't respect distance or you don't use other guards and you don't show other looks to your opponent. See, with Canelo, Floyd, Andre Ward, they give you different looks. They show you different things. They're not just coming to you the same way all the time. And round by round, so you have to make adjustments to them. What I mean by giving different looks, you show several guards. So I may start off with the high guard. Then I might switch to the shoulder roll, right? Then I might do the extended guard on you. You see what I'm saying? I can show you different looks. I'm showing you different looks. And I'm showing you it in within seconds. I'm showing you different looks. So you're not able to hone in on your target spots. You're not able to hone in on what's really going on. You're a little bit confused. And I'll give you movement with it. You see what I'm saying? So for you guys to kind of understand boxing, because boxing today is on a whole other cerebral level to back in the 80s and back in the 60s. Not to say that the guys in the 60s and the 80s didn't have some great stuff, but there's a lot going on that you guys don't understand why the action is the way it is. Okay? But anyway, Kambosos, so he would throw in one or two different looks, but he wasn't showing a whole bunch of different looks. One of the things I saw Kambosos do, which was really interesting, was most guys give you a high guard like this, which is the 2 guard, right? I'm peeking through it. It's not really a peekaboo. This is just a high guard, right? Kambosos gave me a half guard. I never seen this before. Something like this. I've never seen anything like it. He's looking through here to see you. He wants to make sure he's not distracted on the side. But he's only using a half guard. Now the half guard is known, the Michigan defense, this is the half guard. Or this is an extended guard, right? Now you know there's the double extended guard like this. There's a double extended guard like this. There's a double extended guard like this. There's several different extended guards. Let me show you from the side. So you got this, right? You got this, and then you got this. Okay? Then you got this, of course, the 2 guard. So they're different kinds of guards. Now, anyway, what I'm trying to say to you guys, so that you guys understand what I'm saying, is that I never see nobody do this. They watching through here. I've seen guys do this, right? I've seen them do this because they're gonna block, right? But I never seen nobody do this and be peering through here, just through this. I thought that was very interesting. Never seen that before. So Kambosos was showing us all kinds of different things I never seen before. Some of them, and some of them I've seen before. And I believe he was looking to get maybe properly the angle at which he was throwing his jab, and also just to carefully see where he needed to target. Maybe he was looking at Teofimo Lopez's eye because he was busting up Lopez's eye. He worked on that eye. Really great stuff. Again, his corner was yelling, "Work on the eye! His eye's swelling up. Get his eye!" So it was hilarious listening to those corners. Teofimo Lopez's dad was much more calmer. I think, from what I heard, it looked like Lopez had asthma or something. So anyway, the point anyway is that Teofimo Lopez, he wasn't respecting distance. And you got to respect distance. And you can't just shell up on everything, okay? So what he did, his adjustment that he made for the overhand right was to dip, which is smart. That's what Floyd did against Marcos Maidana. Because you can't predict the overhand right. And when a guy's jabbing you to the body, or he's jabbing you, or he's throwing a left hook and then he just comes with the overhand right, boom, you know what I'm saying? And Kambosos started catching him with those overhand rights again later on in the fight. But he was also jabbing him to the eye and busting up his eye as well. So it was jabbing, plus it was overhand rights. But Lopez did some good work, I think it was in round 6, 7, or 8, where he was walking down Kambosos, and he was doing it off of a nice sharp jab. He was throwing a nice sharp jab, and it was keeping Kambosos having the circle and stuff, because Kambosos was trying to get his win at that point in time, and so he was kind of more boxing than anything else. And they were making adjustments. So what happened was Kambosos started with the overhand right. Then Teofimo Lopez started closing in the gap, so he would slide in, so Kambosos' overhand right would miss him, and then he started dipping to offset Kambosos' overhand right, that was coming on him. Again, defense, right? But then his father said, "Listen, man, you need to walk this dude down," okay? Because his father was telling him that you're the bigger, stronger guy in there. Okay, he knocked you down. It's a balance shot. It wasn't a balance shot. He actually caught a flush. But you know, and he was like, "You bigger and you stronger than this dude. Walk him down." So Teofimo Lopez started walking him down off the jab, but then he stopped utilizing the jab because Kambosos started to counter his jab. Kambosos would not let Teofimo Lopez win any single exchange. Any exchange Teofimo Lopez threw, Kambosos would answer him. Whether he would land or not, he would answer him. Kambosos was tenacious. It's up in his face. At the end of the round, he'd be up in his face like this. Like, I ain't afraid of you, fool. You know, he was sending him a mental message. I am here for the duration of however long this fight lasts. I'm in your face. I'm going to be in your face. Even though the funny thing about the whole thing is he's actually the one boxing Teofimo Lopez. He's the one circling the ring, going out, and then he would come and go a bit toe-to-toe with him. He'd engage when he wanted to engage. He'd do what he wanted to do. He'd spike him with the jab and so on. And Teofimo Lopez really realized that this guy he was fighting would fight. I saw when T went to the corner, his father was like, yeah, it's a real fight. Yeah, this is what we like, man. This is what we want. So you could tell Teofimo Lopez knew he was in a fight. He probably knew this from a long time ago, watching the Kambosos. He knew this guy was not going to back down. This guy was going to come to bring the heat. And so, you know, this was the fight that they were in. Now, they were approaching it pretty smart in that they realized Kambosos really don't got all this power that everybody think he had. He don't have no big set of power. He's tough. He comes to fight, and he can box a bit, right? He can box. So Teofimo Lopez was beginning to realize, I need to go find this guy. So he started to go tracking him down. But Kambosos really had good, again, the feet. The feet don't let you down, right? His footwork is great. His pivot work was fantastic. So when Teo came coming in, sometimes Teo would launch in. And then if Teo missed, Kambosos was on him to make him pay. He was on him. So if Teo missed a shot, let's say he's got him on the ropes, comes in, misses the shot on the ropes, Kambosos will pivot right around him and throw a combination. Okay? And so Kambosos was taking every opportunity. It wasn't just he was trying to make him miss. And this is what I keep on explaining to people. Floyd's not that fighter either. Floyd don't just make you miss. He will make you pay. And Kambosos showed us that. Yeah, he don't have the one-hitter quitter power. But he was tagging Teo with the overhand rights. He was catching him with the left hooks. And if Teofimo Lopez was walking him down, made one mistake, Kambosos was on him. He may not land, but he's on him. He letting him know, I'm here, and I'm here to fight you, and I will counter everything you offer. And I will hit you with anything I have. You know, he's hitting with the jab very consistently and with hooks throughout this fight. In the right hand, sometimes he catches him with the overhand right, okay? And Kambosos was like, if you want to do it again, let's do it again. In Australia, 80,000 people, in front of 80,000 people. Kambosos wasn't playing. He knew what to do against Teofimo Lopez, right? He was hungry. He was waiting. And now Kambosos obviously would want Devin Haney, whoever. He doesn't care. He wants whoever because he can box. He knows he can fight. He can stay behind his punches. He's not the biggest puncher in the world, you know. And again, credit to Teofimo Lopez on knocking him down, working behind his jab. But why Teo put away his jab? Why did he put away his jab, ladies and gentlemen? Because he kept getting countered. And I don't care if that guy was feather-fisted. I don't care if he feather-fisted. And let me say something again. Caleb Plant, it wasn't lack of power that made Caleb Plant lose that fight. It was that when he got knocked down, he didn't know what to do. Okay? Caleb Plant was going to win that fight if he knew what to do after he got knocked down because his jab was on point. And maybe he don't have a whole set of one-hitter quitter power in the right hand, but his jab was on point. And that's why Canelo wasn't walking him down and just trying to beat him up. Canelo kept on resetting all the time because that jab, all right, that jab with Kambosos was a tremendous weapon in which he worked off everything. His right hands, his double left hooks, his rights to the body, his left hooks to the body. You know, it was all off of the jab. And a jab is a very dangerous weapon if you know how to use it with the proper and appropriate footwork. Okay? You gotta have the footwork. You have to know, and you have to know when to use the jab. It's not just about using the jab. Oh, he's a great jabber because he popped the jab often. No. If you look at Miga Cotto, his effectiveness with his jab was because he had the appropriate footwork. He wasn't popping the jab all the time. Guys who are regular jabbers who jab a lot today, once I can find your timing, once I can find your rhythm, then I'm going to counter your jab because you throw it too regularly. Okay? So it's great to be a good jabber, but it's just that you have to understand a guy could time your jab. And once he times your jab, it's over. Okay? Once a guy can find your timing, it's over for you. Because now now he can set traps for you and he can set you up. Okay? And some guys, see, there's so much to boxing, but some guys, what they do is they throw your timing off from the get-go. So you can't find their timing. And from there, they're able to get you to go into traps because now you're confused and you're frozen all the time. So they can hit you. They can hit you at will. I love boxing. You know, so they freeze you up. They got you frozen. So you never found your timing in the fight. You never fought because you never got to get a rhythm. And meanwhile, they're just messing you up, right? So the guys who shut other guys' rhythms down, there are other guys who, like smart boxers, like guys like Terrence Crawford, they'll read your time and they'll read you. So they're reading you and they're finding your time and your rhythm and all of that, and they're seeing what you do and what your mistakes you make, and then they capitalize on it, right? So there are different ways to deal with an opponent in boxing, and unfortunately, the beauty of the sport, the sweet science of the sport, is not taught to people, and people do not understand what is really going on in the ring. Because if you did understand it, that's why it's called chestnut checkers. You would really enjoy it. You would really enjoy boxing because boxing is a lot more than just hitting each other with power and stuff. We got to talk about Brian Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton, man, because that was a great fight. And again, Figueroa showed me so much stuff. That's what makes him and his brother Omar, what made them so difficult to beat. And I'm gonna talk about that in another session because that's the angles and how to get leverage and all that stuff. We're gonna talk about that. But suffice it to say that in this fight was won because of the jab of what's his name? Of George Kambosos. His jab is really what won him the fight. And he did clearly win the fight, particularly the 11th and 12th rounds. He clearly won. The 10th round went to, of course, my boy Teofimo Lopez. He was able to drop him, so he took that round. And he took a couple other rounds. I think he took, I can't remember if it was the 7 or 6 or one of them. He took a couple rounds. I think that, though, it was a relatively close fight. I think, though, that Kambosos came through at the end of the fight 7-5 is what I had it. 7-5. I had it 114 to 112. 114, 112 because of the 2 knockdowns. Yeah, again, Tio did great. He did great against him, but it's just Kambosos won more of the exchanges, and you could see he wanted to fight more. And also, he was like the last guy to throw a punch at the end of almost every single trade. If he initiated something, he would finish it. So I think Kambosos won the fight because of that. Again, Teofimo Lopez showed, though, why he was Teofimo Lopez. He put him down on his butt. But Kambosos showed us why he Kambosos. He just got back up. And, some people thought Teo would have finished the round, finished him in that round, and that did not happen. Not only did he stay behind his defense, but he was actually fighting Teo and actually landing punches on Teo, showing me that he got hurt, but not bad enough that his equilibrium was off. And even if it was, he knew how to fight hurt. So again, preparation, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot emphasize that enough. Preparation. Kambosos had to have gone through hell to prepare for this fight. And he was prepared for any situation. Caleb Plant was not prepared for any situation. See the difference between Kambosos And Caleb Plant, he got dropped. He knew what to do. He knew what to do. Right? He knew what to do. He didn't just pop back up. He stayed down. He took his time. He got back up. He said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Let's go. And he went. Okay? That's preparation. You have to be prepared for anything can happen in that ring. Anything can happen in that ring. Which means you have to go through any kind of situation. You must have sparring that pushes you so that you're close to being dropped, or you're badly hurt in sparring, or you're hurt in sparring. Let it be in there. Let the preparation, or you maybe not badly hurt because you know what to deal with in sparring, because in sparring, they bring the pressure to really bring the heat. See, Kambosos was ready for whatever. Teofimo wasn't going to knock his ass out. That was never going to happen. And y'all see that for yourself. He went on to dominate the next 3 rounds. The next 2 rounds, right? It was 11 and 12. So he took the next 2 rounds. So all I'm saying to people is, and notice what his corner did. Anytime Kambosos ended the round and he did not win that round, his corner would tell him, breathe deeply. They make him breathe deep breaths. 3, 4 deep breaths before the guy gave him any kind of instructions. And I remember what Sugar Hill said to Tyson Fury. He told him, take some deep breaths. I remember that because, again, Tyson Fury is a boxer. And notice what Tyson Fury did when he got dropped by Deontay Wilder. Deep breaths. And this is very important for people to understand. You need your oxygen so you can, oxygen is everything, right? That's food. So you need your oxygen to keep your strength and to keep your endurance, to keep your maintenance. So you must get oxygen. So when you get hurt really bad, what causes you to get regeneration powers quicker? Oxygen. All right. So I thought that was very interesting. Also, what Kambosos' corner did, and what kind of instructions they were giving him as the fight was going on. It was quite a compelling fight. Madison Square Garden, And respect to Teofimo Lopez, he did his thing in there. He did his thing. Respect to him. It's just that Kambosos was ready for all of that. He was ready. He really, truly was ready. You know what I'm saying? So that basically is a really extensive breakdown of George Kambosos versus Teofimo Lopez. That was a fantastic fight. Both guys' faces were bloodied. I think Teofimo Lopez drew the first blood against Kambosos, busting up his eye, one up underneath his eye or something like that. Because Teo can punch, as we all know. But again, I keep saying this over and over because a lot of people always talk about power and all this stuff. That's cool. That's cool. My boy Caleb Plant, he didn't beat Canelo Alvarez, but, again, he wasn't ready for every single situation. But he going to be damn near unbeatable. Caleb Plant will be damn near unbeatable in the future. But I'm going to say this. Canelo wasn't beating his ass as much as people think. He didn't leave with no bumps and no scratches. Caleb Plant. See him taking pictures with his wife 1 day or 2 days after. Right? He didn't take no punishment. Caleb Plant didn't take no punishment from Canelo. Why? Defense. And he was using his jab. Okay? Then suddenly he got knocked out. Well, it is what it is. But you saw with Kambosos what I'm talking about. When a person who's really prepared. Now, here's my thing for Kambosos. Regardless of whether Teofimo Lopez has a rematch, and mind you, Kambosos came across the Teofimo Lopez's territory, right? He came into Madison Square Garden, that Teofimo Lopez's home turf, Madison Square Gardens, and beat him, okay? But here's what I gotta say. To Kambosos, Ninja, you need to stay ready, pace yourself, keep in shape. As soon as you heal up, get back in the gym and do what you do. Don't overtrain. That's very important. Don't overtrain. But other than that, keep at it. Stay hungry. Do not change. A lot of fighters say what you want about Floyd Mayweather. Say what you want about Floyd Mayweather. One thing about that man is he stayed hungry. He trained like he was a challenger. He stayed hungry. You stay hungry in boxing, you gonna make it. You gonna make it. Okay? Stay hungry. He has all the skills and abilities, Kambosos, to continue to whoop ass. And maybe he loses one or two fights, but in the end, he continued to whoop ass. But he gotta do better than he did. That performance he did, he has to do better than that because he's gonna learn more. He's gonna learn more. Okay? And note to all the youngins, including Devin Haney, Javante Tank Davis, my boy, the one and only JoJo Diaz. JoJo, stay hungry, ninja. You might be able to upset the apple cart. We don't know. You know, Teofimo Lopez just got knocked off his pedestal. Maybe Devin Haney's turn is here because of experience and stuff. If Devin Haney ain't hungry, you got to be hungry, ninja. You got to be hungry. You hungrier than JoJo? Because JoJo going to give you a fight. I'm telling you right now. That ain't no easy fight. That's a hard fight. JoJo going to give you a fight. I'm telling y'all right now, that's a hell of a fight. JoJo Diaz is on a roll right now. JoJo Diaz is on a roll. In fact, I heard my boy, Gary Russell Jr., talking about JoJo. JoJo only had tough fights coming up. He didn't always get the decisions, but I'm going to tell y'all something. If y'all know a little bit of history of boxing, Henry Armstrong had it tough coming up. He was stopped, I think, 3 or 4 times. What made Henry Armstrong was that he went through the fire. You got to go through the fire. It's not about losing or winning. It's about going through the process, the fire. You got to be battle tested. You got to go through the crucible of the fire. Some people come out undefeated. Some people come out winning everybody, but it wasn't easy. Okay? Now, some people say you have to lose a fight to first know how to really box. That's bullshit. That's not true. But what you got to do in this sport is you have to go through the fire. You have to. And if you ain't past a certain level, if you haven't learned from a certain level, you're going to get exposed later on. That I can tell you about boxing. So that is what we're dealing with. Teofimo Lopez needs to know how to neutralize an overhand right. And he cannot just resort to the shell. That's what dropped him. Nakatani hurt him real bad with that. And he thought it was about a tall fighter. No. It's about a fighter that can get over your defense. And he figured out a couple ways. He did a couple things to offset it. But the best thing you can have is this. Hands up. Walk to him. You know why Teofimo Lopez couldn't walk down George Kambosos like he wanted to? Hands up, walk to him. Hands up, walk to him. That's how you walk down a fighter. Floyd Mayweather versus Zab Judah. Guy was quicker than him. Guy was more powerful than him. What did he do? Hands up, walk to him. Okay? Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hearns. Longer reach. Power at the end of the punches. Great left hook. Hands up, walk to him. Understand? Gene Fullmer versus Sugar Ray Robinson. Watch the first fight. Watch the last fight. Hands up, walk to him. Okay? If you're going to walk down a fighter, understand you're going to be in the line of fire. Canelo Alvarez versus anybody. Hands up, walk to him. You show them different looks, but essentially, you keep your damn hands up. It's a rule in boxing. Why do you keep on getting tagged? Because your hands ain't up. Right? So I hope that Teofimo Lopez learns from this experience and incorporates it, because it ain't about the weight. This was about boxing. This was about skills. This was about ability. This was about hunger. This was about desire. This was about heart. It's about taking the gifts you have and being able to use them effectively. 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 Boxing's all about effectiveness. It ain't about how many punches you land. It's about how effective you are. Are you making this guy fight the fight you want him to fight? 1. 2. Are you getting this guy into position to tag him, destroy him, break him down, knock him out? Effective. Are you hurting this guy? Right? Effective. So that's what you guys got to understand with boxing, right? So anyway, that was Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. I think I went in too much detail there. It's almost an hour in. I hope you guys have a good one. There's plenty more I could have said, and but obviously in boxing, there's a lot you can say anyway. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that. It was a great fight. I enjoyed it. It was exciting. You had everything in it. You had the drama. You had the blood, the guts, the gory. A lot of y'all guys thought that Teofimo Lopez would knock out George Kambosos. I was very reserved. As I said before, I was looking at different factors, and I said I could not predict this fight. I don't know which way it would go. It turned out to be more or less like a 50, not really a 50, a 60-40 fight for Kambosos. But Teofimo Lopez did his thing. Kambosos did his thing. They both learning and growing fighters, so they will learn from the mistakes. Teofimo Lopez, you need to learn from your mistake. You cannot just shell up on a guy. Your shell defense is not enough. You must use the high guard at times, and you must also respect distance with your feet. That means you need to move them and pivot around certain angles. Otherwise, you'll get caught with the right hand and the left hook all night long. And you say you want to go and face Josh Taylor? Let me tell you something, brother. You ain't ready for Josh Taylor. And he a southpaw. You're not ready for him. I'm going to catch you guys later. What you need out. Peace.